Okay, so let's start. Om
Sadashiva Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Parampara.
Om Sahana
Sahana Sahanau Veeram Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai.
Om
Shanti Shanti Shanti.
So we'll continue with the 43rd verse. Tanmay, could you just chant 43 to 50?
Om Acharya. Arunenev bodhena purvam santamasehhrate
Arunenev bodhena purvam
Santamasehhrite
tat avirbhavedatma swayam evamshumaniva Atma tu satatam praptopyapraptavad vidyaya
Atma satatam praptavad vidyaya
annashe praptavad bhati swakantha bharanai yatha Anau purusavad bhrantya krita brahmani jivata जीवस्य तात्विके रूपे तस्मिन् दृष्टे निवर्तते
जीवस्य तात्विके रूपे तस्मिन् दृष्टे निवर्तते
तत्त्वस्वरूपानुभवात् उत्पन्नं ज्ञानमञ्जसा अहं ममेति चाज्ञानं बाधते दिग्भ्रमादिवत् सम्यक् विज्ञानवान् योगी स्वात्मन्येवाखिलं जगत्
सम्यक् विज्ञानवान् योगी
एकञ्च सर्वमात्मानम् ईक्षते ज्ञानचक्षुषा
एकञ्च सर्वमात्मानम् ईक्षते ज्ञानचक्षुषा
आत्मैवेदं जगत् सर्वम् आत्मनोऽन्यन्न विद्यते
आत्मैवेदं जगत् सर्वम् आत्मनोऽन्यन्न विद्यते
मृदो यद्भद्रटादीने स्वात्मानं सर्वम् ईक्षते
मृदो
जीवन्मुक्तस्तु तद्विद्वान् पूर्वोपाधि गुणान् त्यजेत्
जीवन
तच्चिदानन्दरूपत्वात् भवेद् भ्रमरकीटवत् तीर्त्वा मोहार्णवं हत्वा रागद्वेषादिराक्षसान् योगी शान्तिसमायुक्त आत्मा रोमो विराजते
योगी शांति Thank you, Tanmay. Okay, so I'm just muting you all while we carry on. So look at the words. Arune neva purvam san. So that breakup has to be there. It is not santamase. It is not santamase. It is arunen eva purvam tamase santam prate. Tamase san. Arunen eva purvam san tamase rate. So Aruna. Aruna is the lord of the dawn. So the rising sun is called Aruna. It removes the darkness. Purvam tamasa prate. Aruneva sun. When the sun comes up, this is sun, not sun, sun. Aruneva sun. When the sun comes up, santam rate. The rising sun removes the darkness. And just in that matter itself, you have to supply bodhena tamase, bodhena san. When knowledge comes, tamase rate sati. Knowledge removes the tamas also. So it's an example. Just as the rising sun removes the darkness of the night, in the same way, when knowledge arises, it removes the ajnanam. Tataha. Then what happens? Swayameva amshumaneva avirbhavati. The sun reveals itself, becomes manifest. So very nice verse. What are we talking about? We are talking about the jnanam process. So remember this, we discussed in the very initial stages, in the first and the second session which we had. We discussed the process of jnanam, how jnanam takes place. This is once again being discussed here, giving this nice example of the sun by itself arises. No separate action is needed. When the sun arises, tamas goes away. It is not that first sun comes and then tamas goes. Simultaneously with the rise of the sun, the darkness goes away. There is no separate process involved. So if you recall what we had talked about, it's a technical subject, so I'm again going to go into it in some detail. I don't know how many of you remember the original discussions. So jnanam takes place in the Antakaranam. So I'm using all Vedantic terminology. I hope you're all aware of the terminologies. If anybody is not familiar with any words or any of the terms, please stop me and ask. Okay. So jnanam takes place in the Antakaranam. In what form? In the form of a vritti. A vritti, which is a thought. So any knowledge takes place in the Antakaranam, the mind, in the form of a thought. And Vedanta says, the Antakaranam, the theory in Vedanta is that the Antakaranam, the mind, it flows out through the Jnanendriyas, through the sense organs of knowledge, and it envelops the object which is under scrutiny. So if I'm looking at a glass, then according to Vedantic theory, my mind flows out through my eyes and envelops the glass. And what is this enveloping called? It pervades in the form of the thought. So that mind goes out and pervades the glass, pervades the object. Now, pervasion, this pervasion term in Sanskrit, it is called vyapti. The process of pervading something through and through, enveloping something through and through, it is called vyapti. And so, when the mind goes and envelops the object, pervades the object, that pervasion is the object vyapti. So if it is a pot, for example, if it is a ghata, which I am looking at, and my mind, the antakaranam flows out through my eyes, sense organs, it envelops that pot, and that process is called vritti vyapti. It's called ghata vritti. So in case of the pot, it is ghata vritti, also called vritti vyapti, because it is thought which is enveloping the particular object. Okay, if it is a pot, then the thought has enveloped the pot. So the vritti vyapti, and specifically ghata vritti. So ghata vritti vyapti it is. Okay. Now that pot is made of the 5 elements, because we say everything is made of 5 elements. Everything is made of prakriti. So pot is prakriti karyam. Okay. What are the two what they call conditions associated, or the two shakti we say associated with prakriti? There are two shakti, two powers associated with prakriti. What are they?
Ida and Pingla.
No.
No. Avarna Shakti
Avarna Shakti and
Vikshep Shakti.
okay. Now I said prakriti, so some people may have a confusion. But remember that prakriti is not different from Maya. So when I say Maya, for you it is easy to connect Avarna Shakti and Vikshapa Shakti. But when you say prakriti also, it is nothing but Maya. Therefore, I am saying here that prakriti karyam, the whole universe is prakriti karyam, is a product of prakriti, and therefore associated with Avarana Shakti also. Okay. So we are, for this time being, we are not looking at the Vikshapa Shakti, because the discussion is of Avarana. So since any object in this universe, even the glass which I am looking at, is made of prakriti, is a product of prakriti, the Avarna Shakti of prakriti is prevalent in that object also. So that this argument needs to be understood. The Avarna Shakti of prakriti, of Maya, is prevalent, is pervading the object also. Right? And that is why at this stage, supposing for example, now I'm taking the example of the pot, right? Now that pot is pervaded by my vritti. Antakarna vritti pervades the pot. Now, is the pot jadam or not jadam?
Jadam.
Is the antakarna vritti jadam or not jadam?
Jadam.
So it is one jadam object, that is antakarna vritti, thought, the thought from the mind, which is also jadam, which is inert. That thought is pervading the object, the pot, which is also inert. Therefore, at this stage, we are going to call it vritti vyapti. It is the vritti vyapti which pervades the object, the pot, and because the vritti is pervading the thought, the pot, it removes the avarna shakti. But at this point, we will not say that the pot is known. We can say that the vritti vyapti, which is the antakarna vritti pervading the pot, it makes the pot potentially knowable. Okay, that is a good term to use. It makes the pot potentially knowable. It is not known as yet. It is potentially knowable. When does the actual knowing take place? When the antakarna vritti, remember, antakarna vritti itself is inert. It is jada. And therefore, it cannot know anything on its own. But consciousness, the chaitanyam, is inherent in the mind, in the antakarana. and therefore inherent in the Antakarna Vritti also as what?
Consciousness.
Is inherent in Antakarnam as what?
Reflected consciousness.
Chaitanya.
Reflected consciousness.
Reflected consciousness. Reflected consciousness is called Chidabhasa. Why do we say reflected consciousness? Because the vritti itself is the reflecting medium. Okay, remember the vritti, the reflecting medium is jada, it is inert, and it is a reflecting medium for original consciousness. That reflected consciousness is called Chidabhasa, the RC. Therefore, as the Antakarna Vritti pervades the pot and removes the avarna associated with it, making the pot potentially knowable, and almost at the same time. We should not think of it as two different operations, though for the purpose of our analysis, we are doing it as two different operations. But at the same time as the Antakarna Vritti pervades the pot and makes it potentially knowable, the Chidabhasa associated with the mind, with the Antakarnam, that pervades the Antakarna Vritti. Now the Antakarna Vritti is already in the form of the pot, right? That Vritti Vyapti, Vritti which is in the pot of in form of the pot, which is called Ghata Vritti, when that Ghata Vritti is pervaded by consciousness, the reflected consciousness, what happens is pot knowledge, pot jnanam is generated. And therefore, the first operation is that the avarna shakti is removed. The avaranam is removed by the process of the Antakarna Vritti pervading the pot. And then when the consciousness, the RC, when it pervades the Antakarna Vritti, the pot Vritti, that pot Vritti generates pot jnana. This is a technical name. So the first is called Vritti Vyapti. Now remember, this Chidabhasa is the reflected consciousness. Okay. The Chidabhasa is the RC is the consciousness, original consciousness reflected in the Vritti. In this case, the pot Vritti, which is the Aram, the reflecting medium. The Sanskrit name for the reflection is Pratiphalita. Pratiphalita. And therefore, the consciousness, the RC, not the OC, the RC is also called phalam or phala because of the fact that the word Pratiphalita means reflected. And therefore, the RC can be called the phala. Very often it's called the phala. And therefore, the second operation where the pot vritti gets converted into pot knowledge is called phala vyapti. So there are two operations here, vritti vyapti and phala vyapti. Okay, you have to very carefully understand this. Let me finish this discussion and then you can ask. Therefore, the pervasion of the pot by the RC is called phala vyapti. The pervasion of the pot by the Antakarna Vritti is called vritti vyapti. The vritti vyapti of the pot is also called Ghata Vritti. When the Ghata Vritti is pervaded by the phala, the RC, it is called Ghata Jnanam. RC is also called Rupa Jnanam. So to understand this, I can give you an example. Let us say that in a dark room, a room which is very dark, there is an object. Let us say a glass is lying. And the glass is covered by a upside down basket. Okay, so there is a glass, the Vishaya, in the room, and it is covered by the upside down basket. So avarana, the glass is hidden, right? And now you have a torch with you. This torch can be compared to the Antakarna Vritti. And when you switch on the torch, then there is the battery powered light of the torch, which you can talk of as Chidabhasa. Now, in order to see that glass, remember that if you analyze, you need to do two things. First of all, remove the upside down basket from the glass. thereby creating a condition where the glass becomes potentially knowable. Why potentially knowable? As long as the upside down basket was there, even if you had switched on the torchlight, you would not have seen the glass. And therefore, by removing the basket and exposing the glass, you have created a condition where the glass is potentially knowable. That is the first step. That is equivalent to the vritti vyapti. And then you switch on the tube, you switch on the glass, switch on the torchlight, and that torchlight pervades the glass, generating glass jnanam, the phala vyapti. It is for understanding purposes, we can take it that Chidabhasa RC does not directly know the object. RC knows the vritti that has taken on the form of the object. So RC cannot or does not directly cognize the pot, but RC cognizes the pot vritti. And that is why two processes are there. Therefore, to summarize, Ghata Jnanam requires two processes. One is the vritti vyapti, where the ajnanam about the pot, the ignorance of the pot is taken away, creating a condition where the pot can be known. Number two is the phala vyapti, where the ghata jnanam occurs, revealing the pot in the form of the thought. This is a pot. Therefore, the process of knowing any object has two steps. One is destruction of ignorance about the object, creating a condition where the object is potentially knowable. And number two is revelation of the object in the form of the thought. So in Atma Jnanam, only vritti vyapti is necessary. Phala vyapti is not necessary. Why? Because without the Swarupa Jnanam, without the RC, the vritti vyapti cannot take place. The RC is the essential condition for the thought to arise in the mind. And if the RC is not there, the Swarupa Jnanam is not there, the vritti itself cannot take place. But in this case, it is not necessary. Why? Because it is self-revealing. Therefore, only the vritti vyapti is necessary. Destruction of ignorance about the Atma is necessary. It is not necessary for the Atma to be revealed, since Atma is self-revealing. And so Shankara says, Megha paye anshumaneva. When the clouds go away, no further action is needed. The sun will be seen. He says, therefore, bodhena hrite sati, bodhena sun. When the knowledge arises, tamase hrite sati. The ignorance removed. When that happens, and this is compared to the vritti vyapti. This bodhena sati, bodhena sun, when knowledge arises, tataha swayam eva amshumaneva avir bhavati. Automatically, that Atma is recognized as Atma because it is self-revealing. And there is another example in a text called Panchadasi, which can also be used over here. The Panchadasi, they give you an example where there's a dark room and there are two candles. One candle is lit, giving light. One candle is not lit. Both candles are covered by pots. So there's a difference in the way these two are being approached. So if you look at it, the candle which is not lit, that is equivalent to a normal object, pot or glass, whatever it is. The candle which is lit is equivalent to the Atma. Now look at what is required. In the case of the candle which is lit, to recognize the candle, what is required? The pot has to be taken away. All that is required is pot nivritti. The removal of the pot will automatically expose the lit candle. However, in the case of the unlit candle, remember the room is dark. In the case of the unlit candle, removing the pot is not sufficient. You need another light to see the unlit candle. That is the difference between pot jnanam or any object jnanam and atma jnanam. I hope it is clear. So it's a subject which requires some amount of discussion. So any questions are most welcome. A technical subject was discussed earlier, much earlier, and Shankara is bringing it up here again so that we are clear in our minds. What is the difference between the knowledge of anatma and the atma?
So initially, because of a lot of Sanskrit terms, maybe I will go through the class 2 or 3 times to understand, and then maybe have questions.
All right. Anybody else?
It's a very beautiful concept, sir. I must, very enthralling actually. And thank you so much. Very beautiful the way you have explained it.
So the idea is why it is not necessary for the second operation to take place. The first operation has to be there. The removal of the condition which is obstructing the knowledge. The second is a light to show. That is not necessary because Atma is self-revealing. That simple thing has been explained in great detail by Shankaracharya.
Acharya, in a roundabout manner,
Yeah.
it's kind of basically saying that only Jada is something to be known
Only Jada is something which can be known as an object.
as an object. So it's, and again, Jada can know Jada because of Atma,
Because of Atma.
because Atma is Sarvavyapi, all pervading. So that
Yes.
pervasion isn't necessary, it's already there.
It's already there. Exactly. You got it right.
And the only thing that is happening is Jada is coming into contact with Jada, and it is being able to know that.
Yeah. And the mind, which is Jada, becomes as if conscious because of the RC, because of the reflected consciousness. Okay. Now we look at
And one more thing.
Yeah,
The
Jignesh.
first step is equivalent of removing the Avarna Shakti.
Okay, June is asking what is Jada. He has written R, but it is not Jara. Jara is old age. Okay. So Jada, duh. Jada means inert, not conscious. All right, June. Okay, Jigisha, go ahead.
I'm just asking that the first step is equivalent of removing the Avarna Shakti.
Yes, first step is removing the Avarna Shakti. Remember, removal of Avarna Shakti does not automatically mean that you are knowing the object. It makes the object capable of being known. The covering has been removed, like removing the basket from the unlit candle.
Okay. Thank you, Acharya.
Okay. Anybody?
Also, Acharya, the knowing of an object is also has so many different layers because there's an evolutionary process, I guess, to know something. So if you don't know, if somebody is, grown up in a forest and doesn't know anything really
Obviously.
in the world.
That is different because the final knowledge of this is a pot comes from the exposure to the pot earlier and somebody telling you this is called a pot.
Which again shows you the limitations of Jada once again.
Of Jada once again. Yeah. So all those things have to be built into your understanding. That's why I keep on saying that, don't take any step in the process as final. When we start to teach right from our, chapter 1 of the Bhagavad Gita, you must have noticed, those who have been through the whole Gita, that we are shifting goalposts, At every stage, we said this, no, but it's not really true anymore. There's a constant refining of terms.
Yeah.
Raviji, so yeah, it's a very beautiful example with the candles in a dark room.
Yeah.
But I think the example is little difficult to relate to because we are actually never in a dark room because RC is always operational. It's like the tube light is always switched on in the room.
Correct.
There's no way to switch it off.
The Ajnanam, the Avarna Shakti, which covers your knowledge of Atma, that is the removal being referred to. What removes that?
Knowledge. No, I mean the potential to be known.
The potential to be known, which is your karma yoga, upasana yoga, all those things which are, you are actually cleansing your mind in order to make it capable of grasping the object. So that is a limitation of this example. It is not the object which is being cleaned, it is your mind which is being cleaned.
Yes. No, what I mean is that it is finally RC who knows OC.
It is finally RC who knows that I am OC. Yes. And that is the final limitation.
Yes.
Because beyond that, the RC cannot travel. The moonlight can never illumine the sunlight. And therefore, it is always a cognition. It's never an actual revelation. It's an understanding always.
Yeah.
Once the RC has understood that this reflected consciousness, which I think I am, it is because of the reflecting medium, and I am actually the OC, the process is over.
Which is actually very clearly stated in this last example that you've just given, that it is not something to be known. So there is nothing to.
There is nothing to know, actually. Something to be understood. Okay, and he explains that further. Okay, so let's look at verse number 44, where he explains it further. In fact, these verses are worthy of again and again meditating upon. So he says, Atma tu satatam praptah. So tu again here, you are not saying Atma, you are satatam praptah. Okay, this tu here, remember, is but. It is not you. I mean, it's very common confusion because we are all speaking Hindi. Hindi tu means you, but this tu is but. So tu. Tu is the first word actually. Tu, but. Atma satatam praptah. The Atma is always in an attained state. And it is never something to be attained. It is siddha vastu. It is not a sadhyam. A sadhyam is something which has to be attained through sadhana. So anything which is going to be praptah is sadhyam. And therefore, that is not what is being said. He says, Atma satatam praptah. The Atma is always siddha vastu. It is always attained. And yet he says, api. Even in spite of the fact, the Atma is a siddha vastu. It is always a fact that you are the Atma. That is what is meant by saying siddha vastu. You are always the Atma. There is no time when you are not been the Atma. Api. Even then, avidyaya apraptavat. Because of avidya, it is as if it is not attained. Okay. It's a very, very beautiful compound. The Atma is always a siddha vastu, and yet it takes on the status of something which has not been attained, but something which is to be attained. Why? Because of avidya. And tannashe. Tannashe is tat nashe. Tat here refers to what?
Avidya.
Tat is avidya. Tat nashe, when that avidya is destroyed, praptavat bhati. It becomes as if attained. Very beautiful example. The Atma is never to be attained. And yet it seems because of avidya to be something to be attained. The moment that avidya is destroyed, it is as if attained. Again, he says praptavat, as if attained. He doesn't say it is prapta. Why? Because of the first line, satatam prapta. It is always prapta. And therefore it is like, sometimes you go around wondering if where your spectacles are. And then your wife points out that it's already on your neck or on your head. So that is already there. It is not that it has to be got from somewhere. Somebody has just to point out that no, it is already there with you. So this is what he's saying. That Atma, which you always are, which you always have been, it seems to you as if it is not attained because of avidya. When the avidya is taken away, you realize that I am Brahman and I have been Brahman and I will be Brahman. So various sadhana which we do, we do all sort of sadhana for jnana, Panchakosha Viveka. And if you look at the Panchakosha Viveka, the way it is described traditionally, even by good acharyas, it will give us an idea that Atma is hidden under the last kosha, under Anandamaya kosha. And for one by one has to remove the koshas. First you remove Annamaya, then Pranamaya, then Manomaya, then Vijnanamaya, then Anandamaya, and finally you find the Atma. Okay. So Shankara is saying here in the first line, Atma tu satatam praptaha. There is no such activity called attainment of Atma. Atma praptihi is no activity. Why? Because it is Siddha Vastu. It is you yourself. Atma is always available as Aham. I am. That is the Atma. And then he says, Api, even though it is a Siddha Vastu, apraptavad avidyaya, it appears as though not attained due to avidya. What is meant by Atma is gained. It is already present. In the what form? Satchitananda, I am. Aham Brahmasmi form, it is always attained. The moment you say I am, the moment you know I am, that is Brahman only, that is Atma only. And therefore, if you are going to look for Ananda, for happiness, if you're looking for Atma, you need not look for it. It is you always. Any seeking which you do is born out of avidya. Remember, the seeker, the sadhaka, is born because of avidya. If there was no avidya, there would be no need to seek. Right? There is no separation between me and the Atma, either in terms of space or in terms of time. The only separation is in terms of the wall of ignorance, in terms of avidya. And that is why he says avidya nashe sati. What happens when avidya tan nashe, avidya nashe sati? What happens? Praptavat bhati. Praptavat, as if attained. And he says swakanta bharanam yatha. So swakantaha, your own neck, abharanam, necklace or a jewelry, swakanta abharanam yatha, just like searching for the necklace around your neck. When do you know that searching is not necessary? When will you understand that that search for the necklace was an unnecessary search?
When you discovered the necklace on your neck.
Or put in other words, when you know that there was no need to search at all, because it was always there on my neck. And therefore the sadhana to realize that I am Brahman is necessary. For what purpose? For me to realize that the sadhana was never necessary. So it's a very important statement. Your sadhana to know that you are Brahman is very necessary. For what purpose? For you to realize that the sadhana was never necessary. So long as you ask yourself, is sadhana necessary for me? The answer is yes, it is necessary. When you ask yourself, or when you tell yourself, I am Brahman, why should I do sadhana? Then the answer is that sadhana is not necessary. Okay, so that is the text of that verse. Then we will look at the next one, the 45th verse. Sthano purushavad bhrantya krita brahmani jivata jivasya tattvike rupe tasmin drishte nivartate. So sthano purushavad bhrantya. Sthano is a pole, a wooden pole. Now in the dark, this is an example. In the twilight, where it is not bright and it is not dark, a pole in front of you, a wooden pole in front of you, sthano, because of the confusion, the delusion brought on by the poor light, bhrantya, sthano, bhrantya, that pole, because of this delusion, purushavad, it looks like a person. That is the example. Because of confusion, that what is really a wooden pole, it looks to me like a person. Similarly, he says, Brahmani krita jivata. Brahman is seen as a jiva, because the jivatma, superimposition is done upon Brahman. And jivasya tattvike rupaha. So this jiva, which is being superimposed upon Brahman, that jiva is also Tatvika Rupaha. The real nature of the jiva is also Brahman. So when this jiva which we have, the jivatma which you have superimposed upon Brahman, remember that jivatma is taken as finite, requiring moksha. Brahman is seen as infinite, not requiring anything. So this temporary limited jivatma I have superimposed upon Brahman. And he's saying tasmin drishte jivasya tatvike rupe. When I realize that the real nature of the jiva is not finite, is also Brahman, then that jivatma nivartate, the jiva goes away. Bit of involved language. So what he's saying is that because of ajnanam, because of ignorance, I have taken myself as the jivatma. So this jivatma I have superimposed, this finite jivatma, I have superimposed upon my real nature, which is Brahman. And when, because of knowledge, I realize that the real nature of the jivatma is the same as that of Brahman, then the jivatma goes away. So Shankara explained somewhere else. He says there is no such a thing as Brahma Prapti, as attaining Brahman. Anywhere he says where you read the term Brahma Prapti, you must substitute for that term Abrahmatva Nivrittihi. Understand? Abrahmatva means anything which is not Brahman. Nivrittihi means removal of. So the attainment of Brahman, Brahma Prapti, is to be understood as removal of whatever is non-Brahman. So Abrahmatva Nivrittihi. When you remove everything that is non-Brahman, what is left behind is Brahman. That is called Brahma Prapti. So things like I am a man, I am beautiful, I'm a lady, I am wealthy, I am healthy. All this is abrahmatva, non-Brahman. And hence Brahmani Jivata Bhrantya Krita. I have superimposed the Jivatma on Brahman. Tasmin Drishte. When that original form of the Jivatma has been seen, which means when I have owned up that Jivatma is nothing else but I, and I am nothing else but Brahman, then that Jivatma attitude, Jiva Buddhi, Nivartate, will go away. And he gives the example, just as the pole, the wooden pole, is seen as the person, but once he realizes that that person is nothing else but the pole, all the secondary associations with the pole, like fear, anger, jealousy, all this also goes away, because fear, anger, jealousy is not associated with the pole. It is associated with the person. And the moment the person has been falsified, everything emanating from that person, the fear, the jealousy, the anger, all that also goes away. Okay, so that is the 45th verse. I'll try to complete up to 50, then we'll open up for discussions. Then verse number 46. So he says, Tattva Swarupa Anubhavat. So due to experiencing the truth. So Anubhavam is basically experiencing. What it means we'll see later. Tattva Swarupa Anubhavat. Having experienced the truth, Utpanna Jnanam Anjasa. Knowledge is gained. Jnanam Utpannam. Knowledge is gained. Knowledge arises. Anjasa immediately. And things like Aham Mama Iti. I, mine. Ajnanam, that is Aham Mama Iti Cha Ajnanam. The ignorance and ignorance born notions. So Aham Mameti Cha Ajnanam has to be broken up into Aham plus Mama plus Iti plus Ajnanam plus Cha. Aham Mama Iti Ajnanam Cha. So first what goes away is Ajnanam. And with Ajnanam, whatever is the products born of Ajnanam, like Aham I and Mama mine. So mine, Ahankara and Mamakara. Mine, me and mine. Both go away. When the root cause, the Ajnanam is destroyed. So he says, Badate, they are destroyed. And he gives an example, Dig Brahma Adivat. So Dig is direction, Brahma is an error. So Dig Brahma is an error of direction. How is it corrected? By knowledge. This is talking about phalam. He says, Raju Jnanam destroys, Raju Ajnanam is destroyed directly by Raju Jnanam, right? The rope ignorance is destroyed directly by knowledge of the nature of the rope. And you don't need to destroy other things like fear and anger, all that, which have you, because of the snake, you had fear. Those are products born out of ignorance of the rope. So Raju Jnanam born products like fear, etc. They are also automatically destroyed when the Raju Ajnanam is destroyed. Through the destruction of the cause, the products are also destroyed. What are the karyam in this case? What are the products? First product of the ignorance of the rope is what? The snake. Because you were not knowing that it was a rope, the snake was born. And because the snake was seen, you had fear and anger and all those things were there. So Brahma Jnanam similarly destroys Brahma Jnanam. Rope knowledge destroys the snake. The moment the snake is destroyed, all the products arising out of the snake like fear, etc., they are also destroyed. Similarly, Brahma Jnanam destroys Brahma Ajnanam. What are the products of Ajnanam? Samsara. Samsara is represented in this verse by Aham and Mama Iti, I and mine. And how did this happen? Tattva Swarupa Anubhavat Utpanna Jnana Manjasa. So Anubhava here has to be understood as what we call in Shastram or Aparoksha Jnanam. Knowing that I am Brahman. Knowing I am Brahman is called Aparoksha Jnanam. It is not some new experience. So Anubhavam here has to be translated as Aparoksha Jnanam, knowing myself as Brahman. Clearly understanding that I am Brahman. And therefore that Atma Jnanam is not something which is going to happen in time. It's not an event. It is available to me all the time. And that is why he uses the adjective Anjasa, immediately. There is no time gap between the rise of knowledge and the destruction of ignorance. It is like eating and hunger. Hunger does not vanish after some time of eating. As you eat, the hunger is gone. And that's why he gives the example. Badate Dig Brahmadivat. Dig Brahma is confusion about direction. But the moment one direction east is known, the confusion about the west, north, and south is also gone. Why? Because north, south, west ignorance is a product of east ignorance. The moment east is known, the other three directions are fixed. So Jnana Phalam is being indicated, which we're trying to say that Jnanam is knowledge free from doubts and Viparaya. Viparaya. Viparaya, Samshaya, Rahita Jnanam is what is being indicated here. Firm knowledge, free from doubts and habitual thinking patterns. How does this happen? Freedom from doubts happens through Mananam. Freedom from habitual thinking patterns happens through Nididhyasana. Okay, now we look at verse number 47. So he says, Samyak Vijnanavan Yogi. So Vijnanavan is a person who has attained knowledge. Samyak is complete. Samyak Vijnanavan Yogi. The Jnana Yogi who has completely acquired the knowledge, what does he do? Swatmani eva akhilam jagat. Akhilam jagat, the entire universe, Swatmani eva, you have to add pashyate, he sees. He sees the entire universe, akhilam jagat, Swatmani, in himself. And not only that, ekam cha sarvam atmanam. He regards everything as himself only. Why does he do this? Ikshate jnana chakshusha. Because of seeing everything through the eye of wisdom. Jnana Chakshusha is the eye of wisdom. He sees everything through the eye of wisdom. So he knows the entire universe is himself alone, and there is nothing apart from him which exists. And this is called Samyak Vijnanavan. Vijnanam here is Aparoksha Jnanam. So the prefix V can be taken as something which is removing samshayam, that is doubts, and removing viparita bhavana. So visheshena veda rahita jnana. Free of doubts, free of habitual thinking patterns. And here by using the word yogi, Shankara is saying that this yogi, this sadhaka, has completed his journey of Shravanam, Mananam, and Nididhyasanam also. And therefore he is completely free of all doubts, completely free of all viparita bhavana, all habitual thinking patterns, all vasanas, everything he is free of. And therefore ikshate, he sees swatmani eva akhilam jagat. The entire universe he sees as resting in himself. Since the jagat is a product, we have to remember, jagat is karyam. It does not have an existence separate from karana. It is only nama rupa, mithya. And that is why Lord Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Sarva bhutastham atmanam sarva bhutani chatmani. If you remember, the same idea is being conveyed here. And hence he says, ekam cha sarvam atmanam. Jivatma is none other than Paramatma only. And when you use the word ikshate, seeing here, you should not think that this sadhaka is no longer able to see the world. Duality in perception will continue. Dvaitam will continue in perception, but Dvaitam has been falsified in understanding. So that Ekatva Darshanam, the perception of non-duality, is not with the physical eye, which is why in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Divyam dadami te chakshu. I shall give you the divine eye, because the normal eye will always see duality. But with this divine eye of mind, you will see that duality has gone. You will see the non-duality. So I see the waves, but after Jnanam what? I still see the waves. But even while seeing the waves, I do not see the waves, because I look at them like I know that they are water. There are no waves. For me, the word wave has ceased to be a separate product. It is water only in a different form, right? For us who have studied chemistry, you go to a chemistry student, he will tell you that both coal and diamond are basically the same. They are carbon. But you ask him to exchange his diamond ring for a coal piece. Will he do that? No. So that is the understanding. Vyavaharika differences, relational differences at the transactional level will continue. But at the paramarthika level, there is no difference at all. All differences are resolved at the paramarthika level. Okay, so with this, we can stop if you have any questions.
Om Raviji.
Yes, Pandana.
It's a bit hard to frame this question, but these days while I deal with my vasanas and habitual thinking patterns, and I use more and more Paramarthika level arguments, I have this concern that am I bypassing dealing with it at the Vyavaharika level? Say if I have a feeling of like insecurity, if I do Nididhyasanam on, I'm Purnam, I have, I don't really have a need for something else, etc. Am I like, but when do I know if I should still be dealing with it at a Vyavaharika level, They actually deal with what is happening in the mind.
But that what you're doing is the dealing, right? Your meditation on the fact that as Brahman, you should be having no problems at all. That is dealing with it. You are dealing with those thoughts. You are not allowing the thoughts to cripple you. That is the dealing.
But I'm wondering if I'm kind of like, because it's so different from what, modern day psychology kind of says about dealing with your feelings.
So there is only
Or,
a small difference. We say that,
Right.
yes, these feelings will be there. I'm not saying it. You have some frustrations, you have some anger, they will be there. But you tell yourself that they will be there in the mind. And they are in the mind as thoughts. And I am not the mind. So there is no harm in them continuing in the mind. Once that separation is brought about, you will find that those thoughts will remain, but they can be dismissed at will. That is dealing.
so this is working to a large extent, because when these disturbances come, like I find more and more that I'm able to step back and be the observer and realize, I'm not really these emotions, and I can kind of watch it like a show and step back, right? I'm just concerned if it's kind of still remaining somewhere in the mind, and
It will remain,
has to be
but
dealt
it
with.
will be like a burnt rope. The shape will remain, but it won't be capable of binding you.
Mhm.
So that's another example Shastra uses. The rope will remain, but in the form of a burnt one. You will see the rope, but it's not capable of binding you at all. So you're free of it, essentially.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? We still have a couple of minutes.
So it's actually a very subtle process, right? Like moment to moment analysis. Whenever you kind of have some situation in life wherein there is a tension, you always remind yourself, and it takes a very slow process, a very slow time to assimilate. Is that correct?
It takes a very long time to assimilate because you're trying to, buck the trend, so to say, because throughout your life, you've been told all these are your problems. And now you're saying none of them are mine.
Thank you, sir.
It'll work.
Raviji,
Yes, June.
what was the term for attaining?
What was the term for?
Attaining.
Prapta.
Prapta. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so this will stop. Thank you for your patience. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Evavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat. Om Namah Shivaya.
Thank you,
Thank you for your
Acharya.
Thank you,
patience.
Raviji.
Thank you.
Thank you.